Well, good morning. It's great to see you, and welcome back to the Old Man's Workbench, where today is going to be part 2 of a video that we published about a week ago, where we took a neighbor's mantis tiller that she said hadn't run in a couple of years, and we took the carburetor apart, cleaned it all up, put it back together, and kind of felt like that was the issue. And certainly that carburetor was a mess. It needed a lot of work. So we spent some time cleaning that up, put it back together, and then, actually got the tiller running. But something was wrong. So we decided to take the head off and take a look inside, and yeah, this is what we found. This is the old piston, and there are parts that are off of that. I don't know if you can see that or not. In fact, here's one here that we found inside this piston. And so I had a conversation with the neighbor. It looks like the cylinder head is miraculously undamaged in here, so we decided to take a chance and see if we could just replace the piston. So that is going to be our project today. First thing we're going to do is we're going to see if we can't flush out this crankcase here, because I'm concerned that a lot more of these pieces are down in here. Now, this is hardened steel, forged steel, if you will, and all this is soft aluminum from the skirt on this piston. So those pieces may well have just been pulverized in here, but we want to clean it out pretty well. So that's what we're going to start with. We're just going to take some 2-cycle mixed gas, and we're going to pour it in here, mix it around a little bit. Oh, see, look at, there's a piece right there. See that? See how that popped up? And I'm just concerned there's a lot more of those pieces in there. We actually discussed taking this apart. This crankcase will come apart. So you start adding up all the costs for a complete crankcase rebuild, pistons, rings, seals, gaskets, all of that stuff. And pretty soon, the juice just isn't worth the squeeze when compared to going out and getting another engine. If you go out and look on the old interwebs, you can find a complete engine for this little tiller at a pretty reasonable price. If for whatever reason this doesn't work out for us, that's always an option, but we'll figure that out down the road if it comes to that. Let's empty this out, turn it upside down. We're going to flush this out several times like this. For our first flush, I've gone ahead and put a pretty fine mesh screen on here, and we're just going to dump this out, see if we can't catch any of these pieces on this screen. And well, yeah, there's some pieces there. There's some pieces there. There's a pretty big piece there, and then there's some other chunks there. I don't know if the camera is catching that, but we're going to keep on flushing this out and doing that again and again and again. See if we can't get anything to shake loose here. A couple more pieces sitting on top there, just real thin pieces right there. I'm just going to keep on doing this. I won't bore you with the details, but we'll show you what we found when we're done. I think we've got it flushed out fairly well. These are the bigger pieces that we've seen. There's a couple of smaller pieces. I can see that there's some tiny pieces here that are kind of getting caught in the mesh screen here. But I think we've got it pretty well. But yeah, there were some pieces down in there, and so we were able to get those out. I don't know if the camera's picking that up, but there are a lot of tiny little pieces that are just barely caught in this mesh that when I kind of turn it in the light, there's a piece there, right there. There's a piece there. There's a piece up here. There are other pieces in there that look like were a part of that skirt that have just kind of been pulverized into tiny little pieces. So I don't know if you can see that down in there, but there's plenty of grit and grime in there that ultimately will wear parts down inside that crankcase, kind of acting like sandpaper. I don't know if that's the leftover pieces of the pulverized skirt from that piston or just residue that's left over from gasoline. But at any rate, we cleaned it up pretty well, and I'm pretty confident that there's nothing left in there at this point. So let's dump this out, and then we'll take a look at this piston here, what came with it. Then we'll figure out what it's going to take to reassemble it to this connecting rod here. Take a look and see what they sent us here. Obviously, piston ring. We've got the wrist pin that attaches the connecting rod to the piston, and here's the piston itself. That wrist pin goes in here, and then we've got what looks like a couple of washers. Things are going to get a little slippery here. I've got a little 2-cycle engine oil just to lubricate some of the pieces here. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to just take this, put some on this wrist pin here, and we'll slide this through. All right, this is going to be a little bit of a delicate operation. As you can see, we've got the wrist pin just barely in the piston. and we've got the piston situated correctly. I'll show you what I mean by that in just a second. So now we're going to take the connecting rod and we're going to slide it in here. There's enough that will go in. And now we push the wrist pin through. This is where it gets real tricky. We're going to try to put this other washer right there. So it's kind of wedged in there now, and we're just going to see if we can't maneuver it in there. Encourage it to go in there. That's pretty close. There we go. And now it's all the way in there. Okay. That actually worked out better than I thought it would. All right, so as promised, just going to show you what I mean by, situated correctly or oriented correctly. You can see at the top of this piston there's an arrow that points this way. The arrow is supposed to be pointing towards the exhaust side of the engine, and so that's the orientation that it's in. So before we do anything more, let's secure this wrist pin in place. So we need to put these clips, one on either side, just inside in that little groove there to keep the wrist pin from sliding out or hitting the side of the cylinder wall. Here we go. Boy, that is going to be some kind of operation to try to get that in there. Maybe we try it with a screwdriver. Be a great way to gouge my thumb. And I don't really want to booger the end of this up if I can help it. Boy, I felt like I almost had it there. Nope. All right, guys, I'm sorry I missed it, but I got that one circlip in there. You can see that, and I'm going to try to capture putting it in on the other side. So the solution that I came up with was to come up with a little homemade tool. I don't know if you can see right there, but I've got a little sacrificial screwdriver that I filed a little groove into with a metal file. I don't know if you can see that or not. And what happens is I'm able to take this and to get the circlip right in that groove, and then I can push on it without it sliding off or sliding up or sliding around. I can get a little bit better of purchase on it and really apply some force. So that seems to be what's worked. We're going to try to do it on the other side. We're going to try to capture it for you on video, but it's still not easy, but it does work, or at least it worked once. Let's see if we can't get it to work twice. All right, hopefully you guys can see that right there. And I'm pushing on that, trying to keep my thumb out of the way just in case this slides off. I don't want it slicing into my thumb. And I'm really pushing down now. And there we go. We got it most of the way. Now we just need to encourage this little piece here to get underneath that groove. There we go. But that's how I got the other one on. Hopefully this one is good as well. Yeah, okay. It seems like the circlips are seated all the way around. So I think we're good to go. The next step is to install this piston ring, and then we can put the head on and move on with our assembly. Now, just like the piston itself, it goes on in a certain orientation, meaning the arrow points to the exhaust side. The piston ring itself has to go on in a certain orientation. So the gap in this ring goes on the intake side, opposite where this arrow is pointing, which is the exhaust side. And that's because there's this little pin right here, and it rides in this groove so that the open end of the piston ring is always on the intake side right there. And you see there's a couple of little chamfers on either side of that, and that is to accommodate for this pin here. It just fits right in there. So we stretch this out a little bit. Again, that's why there's a gap there. You got to be able to stretch it on, and it's got to be able to expand and contract. And it'll press in so that it's the same diameter as the cylinder head. This ring here, because of that pin, can't rotate around so that this open end is anywhere but facing the intake side. So that's how that works. All right, so that's on. And now it's time to put the cylinder head on. So first thing we're going to do is find our gasket. Here it is right here. And we're going to put it on. That has to be oriented correctly as well. We can't flip it upside down, because if we do, there's no place for the bolts to go. We're just going to reuse the same old gasket. I think it's still got some life left in it. So just like that wrist pin and some of those internal things, we're just going to coat this with a little bit of 2-cycle engine oil just to kind of lubricate things up a little bit. We'll get the inside of this cylinder as well. And now we'll see if we can't slide this on. I think the best way to do this is to actually mate it to this. It goes on like this. Again, the orientation is important. And again, we know that this is oriented correctly because there's holes here for the bolts, and then there's also cut out here for this little opening right there. So that's going to go on like that, and we're just going to slide this in and on, and there we have it. So now we've got it mated correctly and we can bolt it down. Now here are the bolts right here, and there's only 2 of them, which is interesting. Usually you see, you know, a series of them, 3, 4, 5, and there's an order in which you tighten them down. Here there's just 2, so there's really not much in the way of an order to tighten them down. They do have a spec, and that spec is 2 to 3 foot-pounds, which is about 35 to 43 inch-pounds. And I have a torque wrench, but I don't think I can use it, because even though I can get at this one, over here, there's no way that I can get a bit down this hole here. And I'm going to have to use just my Allen key here. I'll drop this in like that. We'll get the threads started on that one. We'll get the threads started on that one. And I think what we're going to do is we're just going to tighten this down as best we can. You know, 2 to 3 foot-pounds isn't very much. It's not all that tight. And so I don't think that getting it to, you know, that 35 to 43 inch-pounds is all that critical on this. We're just going to tighten it down as much as we can, and I think we're going to be fine. I do have a pair of special torque channel locks here. We're going to tighten that down. Wait for the click. Wait for it. Wait for it. There we go. And then we'll do the next one. Okay, that's good. Tighten the spec. All right, we're going to put the muffler back on here. We've got the heat shield. We're going to put that in place. Put the muffler back on like this. And then this, not a lot else to it. We just kind of slap it on here. All right, that is on. Okay, I believe the next thing is just to put this cowling on, this cover here, and I believe it goes on like this, more or less. You know, we didn't take the coil off, but we did take the head off, and the coil is attached to the head. We probably tightened it down just a little tighter than it was. So you can see that it kind of sticks here. So we're going to loosen this up and reset it. And that is on there. Kind of slide it back a little bit. And then we're just going to take a piece of paper and we're going to stick it in here. People say use a business card or something like that. And, you know, again, not an exact science. You just kind of want to have something to create some separation there so that they're not actually touching, but they're close enough to create that magnetic field, which creates the spark, which ignites the gas, and so on and so forth. So that'll do. We'll tighten this back up. And we'll pull that out, and now it spins freely. So that's good. All right, that's in place. Now when you're putting this little spacer in, again, this is kind of a backwards D, so you got to make sure that it's oriented correctly. And then these 2 screws will go here and here. But you have to make sure when you push this up that you don't lose these little nuts. These little nuts are not secured in here, and so if you tip it upside down, they'll come out. And these little nuts are used to secure the carburetor assembly, which we'll do in the next step. We'll put this on like this. All right. Okay. We'll tuck the breather tube up here and reconnect the fuel lines. All right, I don't think we can avoid it any longer. It's time to reconnect this engine to the tiller body itself. There's no avoiding it. I guess we put some gasoline in this thing, give it a couple of tugs, and see what happens. Well, it wants to start. Well, we got it started, so that's the good news. Idling just a little bit high, so I'm going to back off the idle screw a little bit. All right, that sounds good. Let's take her out back and see how she operates in the garden. All right, this is where the rubber meets the road. It's all fun and games until you actually get out and put this thing to work. So, ignition is on. Starts right up. I think I'm gonna see if I can adjust the high-speed screw a little bit more. Took a minute, but I think I got the high and low speed screws adjusted just about as good as I can get them. And this thing's really moving from dirt. I'm really pleased with this. Now it's lightweight, so if the ground is hard like this, it's going to bounce a little bit. But eventually it digs in. It just does a great job. This is an impressive little tiller. I think our fix with the piston works just fine. I'm going to give it a rest here. Try to break it in a little easy. All right, we'll turn this off. Wow, that was really good. Very happy with that. Okay, last thing we need to do is just put this air cleaner cover back on. I wanted to leave it off just in case I needed to spray some starter fluid down there if it was being balky starting up, but it really wasn't. After the first couple of pulls, it started right up. All right, that is on. Somewhere along the line, the wing nut that goes on this was replaced by this little nut here, and that's okay. And now we are ready to return this little Mantis tiller to my neighbor. I think she's going to be pretty pleased. I got to tell you, I'm real happy with the way that turned out. So we're going to call this little project a win, and we're going to call this episode done. I appreciate you guys sticking with me through this project. Again, part 1 is going to be in the description if you want to check that out, or you can just go to the channel. Feel free to leave a comment, give us a like, and by all means, take a minute to subscribe. That really would help the channel. So that's all for now. Thanks again, and we will see you in the next one.